Oh dear, I'm going to make a noise because I've got to change things a little bit. Not awake. Not truly awake from my slumbers. And it's Friday, January 24th, 2025. Cheers. Here is the news. Noise. Sorry. Big boom. Big boomer, roomer, noomer, 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 noom. Oof. Is there enough light? Am I blurry? Am I blurry? Oh, yeah. First thing that came into my head is when I'm looking for a title. Apart from, making a quick cup of coffee and sitting down, turning on the computer, etc. Oh, definition of self. Where do I begin? The sweet love story of how... See, definition of self. Obsession with definition of self. That's another thing, isn't it? Oh, read a book once called The Mismeasurement of Man. And I was like, which man was he measuring then? No, it's definitions, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. Is this the real life? Or is this just fantasy? I'm awash. But really, definition of self. Well, there's self-analysis where it's like, your character is formed whilst you are very young and you become this out there in the world person, and hopefully you've picked up some good traits along the way and not too much bloody trauma, because traumatic events are happening around you. And so do you carry that trauma? Do you turn it into drama? Do you make it a crisis? These are things that happen in people, and that becomes part of your interaction. And you end up with this wave, and this wave is just like, sometimes it's a tsunami and sometimes it's barely noticeable. So it's like a pond, and you can see the distance and you can look at the horizon and you're like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Patiently awaiting death. Not wanting it to come, but knowing it is coming. Patiently awaiting death. Well, from the moment you're born, I suppose. That's the human experience. See, we've taken our knowledge beyond the sort of like childlike wonder of, falling asleep because you're tired and then waking up and going, oh, what's that? We've taken our childlike wonder, and we've grown up and grown through it and become human and become responsible within our own physical, mental, emotional, spiritual self. We've become aware. So people throw things around like labels today. It's your childhood trauma. It's, you need to be awake. You need to be woke. You need awareness. You need enlightenment. You need did it. And it's like, yeah, you need all of it. All of it. So as you can discern, you can discern, because it's all about discernment, isn't it? What am I drinking? Is this full of... Don't know, do you? Not until I tell you. I might show you it and you can make a guess. It's a brown liquid in a red cup. but the red cup's green inside. It's coffee. Discernment, taste, all the other things, smell, touch, taste. So developing your senses. So you're very young, you come out of this tunnel and, ooh, you know, and you develop your senses. I mean, they're there. All your senses are there. What happens in those first few years? Hugely important. Because that's where you develop your senses. Those first few years. I don't know, I think it differs in many people. I don't know anybody who actually remembers, like actually really truly remembers being born. We get obsessed with death. I mean, obviously we have people talking about near-death experiences and death experiences, or dying and coming back to life, and the tunnel and the light and whatever it is. It's like this different perception of where they are in the world, given their experience of having been to somebody else somewhere else, which is the beyond. So they describe that, but I don't know if I know anybody, like really know anybody that's can literally remember coming out, like being born. I mean, that's you know and then we can go to sort of like definitions of things that happen to us on a moderately regular basis whilst we're alive and human and living our lives. It's the shock of the new. Is it? Woof. Here I am in warm. Oof. I'm in my mother's belly. Oof. It's so nice and warm. All I have to do is be here. Just be. Oof. What's that? Oh dear. It's like every morning you greet me. Every morning. I don't think it's possible to have a rebirth, even though I talk about rebirth and they talk about a reset, and everybody's talking about, be in charge of your own reset, and everything you've been told is a lie, and you have to reinvent yourself. Don't know. I mean, what works for me is different from what works for others. So I'm pondering that right now. Ponder. People also say you got to get outside your comfort zone. No, you don't. You're gonna be outside your comfort zone because you're interacting with a world that's not necessarily 100% kind and caring and loving and nurturing. But as it gets crueler and crueler, if you want to measure it, I don't know if it is actually. I don't know if it's getting crueler or not. Our awareness of its cruelty, which is the interaction, society itself, which is us. So, ooh. So it's so I feel my responsibility creeping in now, which is not my unconscious, my subconscious. I'm not. It's not a free flow. I'm not free flowing right now because I'm overthinking things. The very definition of defining yourself is overthinking things. I don't want to revert to an ape. I don't want to revert to whatever it was that came out of the cave and looked up at the light. I want a deeper understanding of who I am in this environment than the basic knowledge that, ooh, light, ooh, dark, ooh, light, ooh, dark. I want a clearer definition and a greater understanding of what that means, what that is in my life. What is it that really gets me up in the morning and puts me to sleep at night, besides the obvious weariness of dealing with however many waking hours I've had and how many sleeping hours I've had. You see, it's all about measurement and the mismeasurement. So we have to define things, right? So the definition, and it also becomes very much about our understanding of our language being insufficient. It's not enough, but it's way too much. It's not enough, but it's way too much. It's funny that the Western world, and I'm only going to talk about the Western world, even though I've been to the Far East on journeys and little bits and pieces. I've never lived there. I don't have a full experience of it, and I don't know the language particularly well. Anyway, Western world. Language. What language is dominant being more widely used, not dominating, but more widely used? Again, definitions. What language do we speak? Fuck the English. English, predominantly. Austrian, German, lots of European sub-languages. But if you travel through Europe, if you know English, you can get away with it. If you go anywhere in the Western world, if you know English, you can get away with it. So, all of the Western world is controlled by its language. Its language is English, and the British sit back, the English, British, whatever. England is still not England. England is Britain, which is British, and it's very confusing if you're English because your neighbor who you don't have a division from geographically really is Scotland, and then Wales, and then just a little tiny drop of ocean, and then you're in Ireland, and then Ireland split up between North and South. The British are still cunts. Not all of you, not my mates. No. Sorry. And sorry, a bit strong language. What? No, that was a bit too much. I'm taking that back. Sorry. I apologize. It's not you. It's like the guilt of the white European Caucasian immigrant here, because we're all immigrants. You know, the guilt of reparations, slavery, blah blah blah. You know, all of that. No. So sorry. Withdraw. British are still very dominant in the world through their language, through their financial interests, which they control with very clever language, and the legal system. Wow, I'm getting all political. Watch out. Could be causing you trauma. Because I wanted to talk about definition of self. I didn't want this to be about the outside world. I wanted this to be about the inside world. One where it's safe. Wait a minute, it's not safe in here. I suppose if we ever were, and I don't know if we were, but we may have been cavemen, you know. Which one was first? Which was the first monkey that dropped from the tree and stood upright and said, "Here, wait a minute, what's going on?" And have we changed that much? No, because I'm still saying, "Here, wait a minute, what's going on?" And the big monkey came over and bopped me over the head with a 2x4 and said, "Do as you're told." And I said, "No, no." So there it is, defiance and definition. I defined myself by defiance. And again, we're back into the word jumble. I love a series. There's a series of podcasts, and I think it's called, I'm going to go right there. I'm actually going to put a link to it in the notes underneath this video, because if anybody watches this video, and I will even put it in the chat room if I can find it right now. Boom. Here we go. It's a podcast, and yeah, you have to subscribe, because the people that spend their life, most of their life, spend a lot of their time putting this podcast together. They put in as much dedication. They put in as much dedication talked about them before. Right. Oh, here we go. There, I'm copying and pasting. These girls really know how to let it go. In the chat, wordspodcast.locals.com. Be a member. It's worth it. Doesn't cost much, a cup of coffee a day, whatever. But it's worth it, because their talks are for me It's not just curious, you see. It's like, because, curiosity kills a cat. Their words in the way in which they think. That's it. I think it's the way in which they think and speak to each other. That familiarity of somebody you can kind of have a little snipe at and have a little, but it doesn't get heated, and then it sparks the other one into thinking more outside of. It's worth it. But listen to me as well, please. But don't listen to this shit. This is rubbish. It's just me talking in the mornings. Well, you can if you want. There's another one. There's lots of people. Shane. I could put a list of people that I listen to that's good for me, but it might not be good for you, and that's okay. But if you're actually listening to me and you're expecting wisdom, I'd probably stop. Because this is just me waking up in the morning and just going, what's going on? Yeah. What's all this then? What's going on? And I see what's going on and what it does to me and how it affects me. And then I try and help people understand. I try and help. I don't necessarily help, but I try and help other people understand what I'm seeing. So I'm kind of putting them here and letting them look out there just through you can borrow my lens for a bit. There you go. There's my lens. So I do this in the morning so as you can look through my lens. My lens is very different from most people's lenses as far as I can tell. I've looked through many. Many. What did that remind me of? Here comes Johnny Reggae, Johnny Reggae, Johnny Reggae, lay it on me. Ba-dum. Why did it remind me of that? Many, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So does that make me one of those chameleons, those shape-shifting people that has to view the world through other people's ways? And no, I'm just trying to experience things through other people's perceptions so as I can understand why mine is so different. And if it is different, is it driven by trauma or is it driven by wonder, complete and utter wonder at what the hell's going on? So I think it's the latter, what the hell's going on. But I did have trauma. I mean, so we've all had trauma. Every single person in the world has trauma, but we are not a traumatic theater of humans. That's not what we are, because we're working it out as we go along. So where are we? What are we doing? What's all that then? We've got to keep our childhood wonder. Go out there and discover things, even though you might get old. I mean, I'm saying this for old people because, I mean, I'm still young and fresh and just, sprouting out of the ground. I am a spring chicken. Am I frightened of things? Yeah, that makes you a chicken. And I'm still bouncing. So, yeah, I'm a spring chicken. See, in language is bloody awful, really. But it's funny. We can find humor in the way in which language manipulates humans. I mean, I could do this as prior to the visual beauty of this interaction. Prior to that, you might have heard my voice on the radio, or so it would have been more about the affectation of the words and the way in which they were transmitted out to the world. So podcasts were mostly audio, and now they're visual and audio, and it's very important that you make connections that have content that is worthwhile. But then how can you discern if there's a million podcasters? Well, you take recommendations from friends. I mean, I don't know how I stumbled across Emily and Danny, who do the Words podcast. I'm trying to think. It was probably 2019, 2018, something like that. Oh, there was a pop-up. I don't know, I was doing some research about Hollywood and stuff, that because I live in Los Angeles, and I was doing some research. I think it was probably about Hollywood. And I think I saw Emily interviewed by somebody who I vaguely recognized from the underground music scene in Hollywood when my band was playing, and I ran a club in Hollywood for a while. So I think there was a tentative like connection through some The Melt podcast. I think it's called The Melt. Hunter and I mean, it's anyway. No, it wasn't that. Oh, fuck knows. Where does it come from? Where's it all going? But anyway, there's and then through seeing Danny Katz's interview, lots of people I find interesting, and then I follow their podcast, and Emily having her, like, I don't know. I mean, Emily is, her mind is, she can entertain so much and then condense it into so many different talks, and she seems to be able to in some way compartmentalize even each one as an expansive thing. It's she's a remarkable lady. In a that's why they set each other off. Danny has a very harsh Danny's journalistic training and her search for her truth and the truth kind of anchors her in a little bit more than Emily's but Emily can go, okay, this is how I am with this. It's so brilliant. Anyway, whatever. But I think that's all of us too. I think we're all being inundated with all of this stuff, and we're not being all that discerning. We're actually going, yeah, give me the lot. You know, I'll have the lot. You sure? So, definition of self. You are your own limitation and your own growth. You know, did it. So you are your own micro macro, and there it is. Really, you're your own inner self going out into the world. Well, if you're not educated enough about who you are, so clearly defining yourself, and you go out into the world, That's not safe, is it? You're going to bump into monsters. And where do the monsters come from? I think Jung was right. I think Jung is absolutely. I mean, not every single thing he did, and not every single utterance from his mouth was, oh, but the very sound basis of man is man's worst enemy. I don't think he actually put it in those words. But we need a deeper understanding of man. Humanity, humans, male, ego, female, ego, separation, 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 definition. You know, you need a deeper understanding. That's it. I can't think of anything else now, because that's got me pondering my internal engine and how to take it out into the world today. No idea. I have nothing planned today. I usually make a list of things I have to do in order to be able to pedal. Keep going. Yeah, I don't actually have anything on the calendar. I try and keep it clear. Obviously, it gets filled up, but I try and keep my calendar clear most of the time so as I can just be. And being is very important. But yeah. So if anybody wants to give me a ring today, give me a ring and I'll probably answer and I'll probably interact. And yeah, apart from cleaning and maintenance of self and abode, no, I'm just going to sit and ponder. All right, lots of love. Cheers then. I tried to define myself. Oh, there I am. I'm in here somewhere. You know I am. All right. I love you. Bye for now. Peace.